welcome aboard, Gargamel.
Why, thank you, Panama.
I'm imagining that we are going to be here again, playing games that were published by LJN. Although I think we'll probably want to take a break from licensed stuff for a little while. But they did Bill and Ted's.
Oh, wow. Hey, that's one we're going to have to check out.
I know we'll check out at some point. They did Friday the 13th.
Oh, geez.
I mean, all of these are licensed games for the most part.
Beetlejuice, Wolverine. Yeah. Weird how we never played any of these.
Yeah, no. I wonder if the Karate Kid is a good gauge for the quality of most of the games on this list.
I know that Friday the 13th is supposedly, based on its reputation, it has a reputation as being like one of the worst NES games.
Yeah.
I think Back to the Future is pretty bad too.
I mean, it's hard to imagine Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure not being bad. I mean, I'm extremely intrigued, don't get me wrong. You became a martial arts master, right?
I did. Mr. Miyagi said I passed the test.
Well, there you go.
I had a really good experience. Not to say that the game is really good, but
the game was pretty awful as well. But it goes back to my point that I was thinking that Lethal Weapon, where I think I'm much more forgiving with like 8-bit games and NES games that aren't trying to do too much and are like kind of a simple distraction than, I don't know, whatever Lethal Weapon was trying to sell us. Yeah, it was just kind of simple, mindless fun a little bit. And I could take that more than I could take, Lethal Weapon.
That's a good point. You're actually like more, not to overstate it, but you're a little bit more invested intellectually in Lethal Weapon. Little obstacles every few feet. You have to make a decision, Yeah, this game is just push right and punch or kick, whatever comes at you.
Yeah.
You always get used to it, but I'm always disappointed when I find out right at the beginning, like, oh, it's one of those games where you have to push up on the controller to jump. Yeah.
I'm so glad that went away after the 8-bit era. Pressing up to jump is so annoying.
I really enjoyed booting up the game itself, though, because I went in to turn it on, and my youngest son came with me, and he asked if he could watch. And as soon as I turned it on, that opening screen, so I had it in mind, the mindset that this wasn't just an NES game. It was an early NES game. And so if it came out in 1987, I was still comparing them to ColecoVision games. And I was still easily impressed. And so when I turned it on, there's that picture with Daniel and Mr. Miyagi.
Yep. And
the music actually sounded a little bit like the opening to Zelda 2, the opening to our podcast, just slightly, right? And
I thought the opening song sounded good. I liked it. I didn't think about it in that terms, but yeah, I can see how it would have that. But I did like the music though on the splash screen.
On the splash screen, and my son's first comment is, "This has really good music," and I was like, "You know what? It does." And I thought, oh my gosh, if I had been turning this on in 1987, I would have been very impressed.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it didn't take long to be very disappointed.
Yeah. That tournament was, not putting their best foot forward.
No, that's all it was. It was just hitting your...
Exactly.
Yeah.
The tournament was like so ridiculous.
Was it Daniel versus Johnny?
No, I think it's just 3 random people. Like they must not have had the license for Karate Kid 1, but they had it for Karate Kid 2 somehow or something.
Yeah, since everything was in Okinawa afterwards.
Yeah.
I just, I didn't know what was going on, and I thought, oh crap, this is going to be like technical or frustrating because you're not going to know the control. And then I was just like, B, 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 B. Oh, you're done with round 1, you're done with round 2, you're done with round 3. It's like, whoa.
It takes literally 10 seconds to get through the entirety of the tournament, and you fight like 4 fighters.
Yeah, it was so easy. And I was concerned that that's the kind of game it was.
it's not light years better than that as a game. It's
It
just
is.
that they gave you more space to work at, like a a larger map, and again, kind of like a crappier kung fu, right? Where you're
Exactly.
just walking around and kicking people. Just also graphics and the look and the feel is worse.
That was one of the other comments my youngest said. He says, "This looks like that game that you play on the old Nintendo." I have the box for that game, Kung
Yep.
Fu. And I was like, "You mean that one?" And he's like, "Yeah." Yes, that was what I had already been thinking. It's what you just said. It's uncanny, the resemblance. That's what made it all the more disappointing, that it just doesn't flow. It's not nearly as fluid or fun to control as that game. You know what though? That game now thinking about the comment I made earlier, that game you have to press up to jump.
Up to jump game.
That's one of the worst parts about that game.
That is the worst part about the game. And actually, after playing Karate Kid, I actually played Kung Fu for a little bit last weekend. And yeah, Kung Fu is way better. It's just way more polished. It flows totally smooth. I actually forgot that was an arcade port too. That was the one that Nintendo did really well. Most ports from arcades at that days were pretty crappy.
Yeah.
Even though you have to do up to jump, and I get that wrong, like just a split second too late or too early, way too much, like playing that game, so I get grabbed instead of kick somebody.
Yeah.
Even so, it's pretty smooth and it's pretty easy to control. Where this one was just awkward, and the kicks felt, they didn't feel solid like Kung Fu. They just, like, his leg kind of flops out there, and like maybe you hit somebody in the knee or something.
Yeah.
It didn't feel as satisfying at all to fight in the Karate Kid as it does in Kung Fu.
Yeah, you make a good point about how the punching and kicking feels. There's no oomph to the Karate Kid. You can't feel the impact. Like Kung Fu is pretty well done in that regard.
The sprite, it, like, barely moves either. It's just like totally like three positions on the sprite, like legs like straight out. Like there's Kung Fu was like had really smooth movement and the animations and everything. That's what I would have as a kid wanted this to be, right? Is Kung Fu but reskinned with Karate Kid, gear, and instead of what we got, you're fighting Kreese and Johnny's the first boss, and then you got Kreese is the second boss at the end of that level.
Kreese would be Kreese, but Kreese would have to become a playable character. No, he wouldn't, because he's still bad today. Yeah, he would be the second boss. All of Johnny's friends who, in their skeleton Halloween costumes.
Oh yeah, they could be the bosses too.
They could be bosses as well.
They would be an awesome 8-bit era enemy to fight, right?
Those bosses are all unique. The first one is generic, but the big dude in the tank top, and that little elf munchkin thing with the funny little laugh, if it ever
he always throws you off.
Yeah, just the right amount of mystique and uniqueness. You got these huge boss and a tiny one. I love the feeling when you're running towards a boss and then
that they're gonna back away. Sometimes
and they just suddenly turn around, and it's like it's a very subtle. It adds to the ceremony of the boss fight itself. It's like
it's like, all right, he's all yours now.
Yeah. We go no further than this. This is between you and our boss.
And that's what makes those knife throwers the worst, right?
Oh yeah,
because you think that you're pulling everyone away, and then last minute, nope, that boss is coming and they're throwing knives in the back of your head.
That's awful. Yeah,
that's what the game should have been.
Right. What's the goal of the game? Is Elizabeth Shue's character kidnapped? You gotta save her.
You gotta save her.
Of course. Yeah, well, that would be better than what we got.
Yeah.
The other thing that was really frustrating about the Karate Kid was just the sheer amount of elevation gain, in the levels. Just you're constantly going up, and when those enemies are coming down, like Koopa is coming down a stairway at the end of a Mario level, but it was so imprecise and it was so frustrating that I had to spam the restore points. Because
that's another up to jump game now that I'm thinking of that it reminds me of is Russian Attack.
Oh, true. True, that's the
and
worst
how
part of
annoying
that
that
game.
is. And they have, because you have levels. Sometimes you have to like jump between like two high levels, and you have like a split second to press up to jump to get to the next thing, and it's
It is very frustrating, and that's one of the worst things. Or you try to jump over someone or something, and you wind up on a ladder.
yeah.
Russian attack. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess that's more of a knock against the era, the limitations of the hardware.
Right. Right.
But it didn't make for a very enjoyable first impression. Now,
Yeah.
the level design was mediocre. I did like they got a little bit too frequent, or maybe I started ignoring them. If only to break up or give me a break from the game were those little mini games.
Yeah. No, me too. Although I could never do the swinging hammer one. I get one like I think I maybe got two one time or something, but like every time I still have no clue of when you're supposed to press the button on that thing.
So the first few times I did it, I tried to jump over it. It made me feel like I was doing it right, because then it would get a little faster and I would time my jumps, and I would like jump over it. And I would jump over it 4 times, and then it would say, "You failed." Like, what? It never even hit me. Like, but I exaggerated. I mean, I think I did that twice, and then I was like, "Oh, wait a second." I think I got maybe 3. I liked it. It was just a nice break. The catching the flies and the chopsticks.
Yeah. The ice block one isn't too bad either.
Maybe as an indication that I did enjoy it, I actually did make a save state before that, and I just kept doing it until I would break all of them.
Nice.
Like I kind of enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That last level is brutal.
It's pretty tough.
I hated those enemies with the spears.
Yeah, that was really annoying. On the same level as them, is there any way to avoid getting hit by their spear one time?
I never did.
Yeah, I couldn't figure it out. Like occasionally if they're like one level above me and I could like punch them when I'm below their spear. You couldn't jump over their spear and kick them. You couldn't, like, what else can you do? Like, you just have to get hit.
You had to take it. You knew it was coming.
The rest of the game isn't too tough. And I actually found a few places that I'd found where you could just kind of stand there and like the guys couldn't get you. And since there's no time limit or anything, you could just kind of farm the little crane kicks and get a little bit of health back.
Yeah.
Or even just you could farm points if you wanted to get extra lives if you had to or something.
And you're right. The first couple of levels, well, including the tournament as well, they weren't that hard. They were just kind of monotonous.
Yeah. The worst part of the second level is the random trash that's like hitting you in the face.
Oh, right. Yeah, and you could punch it for like 100 points, I felt. Yeah, but that was hard. Yeah. The timing was hard.
And it was more annoying than anything. It didn't seem to take much health off. And sometimes it didn't even take any health off. It just kind of knocked you back. But
I agree that the gameplay in that part was annoying. One thing I thought was, they're really following the movie. Like there's a big porn scene. So it's like, it's kind of authentic.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I would have been disappointed as a kid if I played this game, I think. But games weren't that much better at the time. So maybe I would have accepted this on some level. I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, I think I would have had mixed feelings. The fact that you can have an experience that is not good when a game looks that good. My age and my thinking, like I said, comparing to Clico, I would have been like, this got to be fantastic. Or, if I had just seen the back of the box and rented it, I think I would have been disappointed. I was going to say I wouldn't have stuck it through to try and beat it, but that's not true, because
I think it would be, it's not that hard.
It's not that hard, even without save states, because like you said, you would find tricks, and also as a kid you would just play it all the time. You'd have the time to play it. You only owned like 3 or 4 games at the time, so
it's not that hard.
Yeah, they kind of dialed it in. The ending, I was trying to think, was that ending any more or less than what was par for the course back then? I think it was probably pretty par for the course.
I think it's probably a little weaker than usual, but not unheard of by any means. It was really abrupt, and then it's just fades out from you, literally knocking out Chosen. he's the easiest end boss I've ever seen in a game. Yeah, I just stood there and pressed the button 5 times in a row and fade to black, and Mr. Miyagi told me I'm a martial arts master.
Yeah, the boss fight was so lame that it should have been disappointing, but the irony was I was still happy to be done with the game. I still felt jubilation from defeating him.
I felt the exact same. Like, it was just short enough that if the game had been any longer than that, I think I would have lost interest and been like, okay, I'm not going to play this anymore. But it was just kind of long enough where I could, could get through it.
Yeah, I might not have continued on if it had gone even a level more. It doesn't strike me as the kind of game that even if you were really good at it, it doesn't mean it would have a flow to it or be enjoyable. It would still be a slog even if you're really good at it. There couldn't really be anywhere to go but worse.
Yeah, it was just enough of a bad thing or something. I don't know.
Yep, that's right. Couldn't take any more. Yeah, and I did. How much research did you do going into the game? Did you look at the manual?
I looked at the manual, but other than that, I didn't really do any other research before I played it. But yeah, I didn't know what it was going to be. I think from reading the manual, I figured out that there was going to be no crease, which I knew was going to disappoint you.
Yeah, I'm still getting over it.
You texted me about how much you wanted to see crease, and that's why we're going to choose this game.
Oh, so you looked up the manual?
And so I looked at the manual before I started playing, and I was like, Gargamel's not going to like that.
Yeah, I'm not so sure crease could have saved this game.
He wouldn't have.
No, he would have been he would have been a boss that goes down even easier than the last boss. Would the sprite of him had him in his pose with his thumbs holding his get up?
I think they would have to. There was more effort put into making this manual than there was in developing this game.
It's true.
I actually like the little graphics on this picture. Like, looks way better than the actual game. Just the drawing of Daniel doing his moves.
Yeah, they really captured the motion of it in those pictures. If you just look at those 4 screenshots, just like move the camera back a bit, you just think, hey, this looks like a pretty good game.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look bad, and the game actually has still pictures of the game look pretty good for a Nintendo game. Agreed. It's just once it's in motion that the animation is not crisp at all. It's just random. It's like a 3-frame sprite. But so everything kind of just, walks around like little cardboard cutouts. But like a still picture, it looks pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Yeah, this is great artwork.
Yeah. Chosen looks like a Nazi in this.
Yeah, doing the Nazi march or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do appreciate a good manual.
Yeah.
What's the event or order of events that would have to take place to be you're in a situation where you can't play the game, but you can read through the manual?
Sometimes that happened to me when you were a kid, though.
You've already
bought in the game at that time.
That's what I'm asking. So
like, you're just so excited, but you're not gonna be able to use your Nintendo for a while.
Yeah.
Like, you got it. Like, you went on vacation somewhere and your parents got you a game.
Okay, there you go.
Your aunt gives you a gift and it's a game. And you gotta wait till you
read the manual in the car the whole time, over and over. So what I'm saying is that I think that this manual would have gotten me excited for the game.
Oh yeah, even just going to Toys R Us to get a game because you opened it in the car before you got home. You read the manual on the drive home. Yeah,
that's true. So that's cool that they put all that effort into it, but from a business standpoint, I mean, they've already sold you the game.
Yeah, it's true.
But I appreciate a good manual, and I think I would have just eaten this up and been like, "Oh, I can't wait to look at his move set." That would have made it look great.
Oh man, yeah, that car ride home would have been the best. Would have been the best part of owning this game. Sadly. So yeah, I don't know. You think there's anything more to say about Karate Kid?
Not so much. It was not that inspiring.
No. So again, what if we were, or as we are, cataloging the history? What kind of treasure or trash or artifact did we find digging up Karate Kid?
I think it's kind of like not so special Like kind of like Lethal Weapon was. I got excited not because of the license, but at the beginning with the music and the splash screen, and just this is going to be great. In that respect, it was like coming across a cool little piece of petrified wood, only to discover it's like a petrified piece of shit.
Yeah. I definitely agree that it's not special and disappointing, but I don't think I feel quite as bad about it. I don't say that I would call it quite shit for me, even though it's a crappy game. Like an uninteresting piece of history or something. Like if I was, digging it up, like just something that you find that's a dime a dozen, not quite trash, not like even like a broken piece of like pottery or something that like has value, but just something that wasn't special at all, that you don't put it in a museum, you don't show it to anybody, you just kick it aside. But it's kind of an interesting like curiosity maybe about the past, or just kind of like, well, that's interesting, that's how things were back then, and then you move on.
Yeah, and like you said, glad to have beaten it, and we'll never play it again.
Yeah, no, I was glad to have seen it.
Yeah,
honestly, I was. I mean, I was entertained playing through that. It's like you sit down for like a half hour, and I mean, it's more entertaining than most half hours that I spent. That's something. It provided a little bit of entertainment for me.
yeah. I guess I would also like to think that it was a good memory for my son and I.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Because he's so young, that watching me play games, he has really good memories for it. Like, oh, I remember this game you showed me 3 years ago. That might be an experience that he'll never forget.